second. Yes. Camera is set to 24 frames per second. Yes, yes. We are set for 24 frames per second. Here we go. All right, so I'm back. I did take an extra minute. I went to the bathroom. Do you have to know? Okay, so I really can't use the other cameras because I actually just changed this one to 24p. And the other ones are not. So I changed this one. I'm not sure, but I think it looks a little brighter. Maybe when I go to 24p, I need to bring the volume down. So I could do that while people get in the room just by changing the ISO. So let's do that really quickly. All right, I lowered the ISO from our standard 250 ISO, and now it's at 200 ISO. And if I move my head left to right, there's no stuttering. So 24p is matched with the camera and Ecamm and YouTube now, which is something you've got to put kind of everything together to make it work. Oh my God, did I put anything in the description? If I didn't put anything in the description, hi Jim, I see you. You popped up, so that's good. There is a delay, in case you're wondering, between when you actually send it and when I see it, and then when I say it. So, all right. So the reason for this particular show is I just finished the live stream, and I said I wanted to show a video that I did, a practice video. So now I wanted to show the practice video. Now, this video is not meant for prime time, okay? It's actually meant for practice. So I've done like 4 or 5 of these just today. So I'm going to show you, I would guess, the best one. So why am I making so many different ones? Okay, there's a premise, okay? Carlos, I see you. We're back, baby. Yes, we are back. We are back. All right, so there's an eternal fight, RAW versus JPEG. Yeah, you didn't know that? All you got to do is go anywhere on the internet. I do have the yellow fan off and the white fan on. I want to make sure I don't get too hot over here. I feel fine. I feel cool. So, there's an eternal thing. Do you want to shoot RAW or shoot JPEG? And then there's one group of people that will defend JPEG to the death. And then there's another group of people that will defend RAW. You know, that's their territory. So you also have that same argument with 24p versus 30p. And then you've got the introduction of 60p. And some people like the look of 60p. So if you want to see what 60p kind of looks like, you can watch most of the daytime soap operas are done, and they look very digital because there's nothing filmic about. They try to make it filmic, but it's very clear, and they want that. I mean, these guys and these gals are probably very egotistical, or they have the elderly housewives that are watching. Okay, so it looks very different than if you watch that movie Battlestar, not Battlestar, Battle. What's the name? Battle something. The one with the destroyers and these guys from outer space, and they have to destroy it. Battleship. The name of the movie was called Battleship. Whenever I see the movie Battleship, I always have to watch Battleship. There's some movies that I watched, I mean, if they come up, that it's just a done deal. I'm going to watch that movie, okay? So, It Happened on Fifth Avenue is one of those movies. It's a Wild, 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 Wild World is one of those movies. There's a few of them. One of my favorite movies is The Man in the Iron Mask, where where it looked impossible for the twin brother to get out of his situation, and it flipped. I just love that movie, and it tugs at my heart. Will you be my father? You know. And here's another flip. I am such a Star Wars nut, and I still love to watch it, except they ruined it for me. Where this guy, Darth Vader, basically is destroying the universe because he was a spoiled teenager that he couldn't get the girl he wanted, so he decided, I'm going to destroy the effing universe. Well, they could have come up with a better storyline than that. We could do that here. Hello? That's the premise of the whole thing. He couldn't get the princess or whoever it was, so he was going to fight to the death because he couldn't get the girl that he wanted. Wow. How stupid is that as the foundation and premise? I don't care if you're a Star Wars aficionado or not. They have so much talent, so much creativity. There had to have been a crazy, deep, dark secret as to why Darth Vader wanted to destroy the universe. He even had 2 children, at least one that he knew of, and he still wants to destroy the stinking universe. It was like, oh my God. The best line was, Luke, I am your father. Okay, now that was goosebump making time, okay? Like, I couldn't get the girl I want, so I decided I was going to destroy the universe. Oh, they get an F. If that was an assignment that needed to be turned in as a school paper at elementary school, junior high, high school, or college, you get an F on your paper. You got George Lucas. You got all these other guys with got bigger brains than George Lucas, and it's a teenage boy, couldn't get the girl he wanted, so he decides to destroy the universe. There are so many opportunities there. He was in love with this girl, and she was like this and like that. And they had these wonderful opportunities to come up with something so creative that you're going like, oh my God, that's just mind-boggling. As mind-boggling as Luke, I am your father. And instead, complete failure. Complete failure. Teen boy couldn't get the girl he wanted, so he decided he's going to destroy himself, his body, and he's going to destroy the whole universe. Ta-da! There, I just told you the secret of Star Wars. And I don't feel one bit sorry for doing it. So, anyway, what got me on that, of all things? Anyway. So, let's talk about 24p versus 30p versus 60p. Now, if a person's going to pick here's my premise. If a person's going to pick one of those numbers because that's what they like, that's fine. Okay? I don't have a problem with that at all. But there's another way to use those numbers, and that's to use those numbers as tools. It doesn't matter if you're at 24, 30, or 60p. You're aiming it and targeting it as a specific tool. So how would you use the 24p and the other frames per second? That's what it stands for, by the way. So when they go like 30p, 30p, 24p, it really isn't that. It isn't the P for progressive frames. They are progressive frames. But it's actually 24 FPS, 24 frames per second, 30 frames per second, 60 frames per second, because that's what the camera is actually shooting at. So how can you use these numbers as a tool? All right, so let's say you're a YouTube content creator, and you are going to create a video, and it's going to be a vlogging style. So you're going to talk, you're going to turn the camera and face it towards you. You're going to hold it out like this, or whatever way you're going to hold it. And you're going to talk to the camera, all right? And then to augment what you're creating, you're going to create what they call B-roll. B-roll is as I'm talking about the Sigma adapter, I would roll B-roll now that I would have done ahead of time. Okay? Now, that's not a vlog where I'd be walking around, but if I was, let's say, Sly, and she's out and about at Dinosaur World or something, and she's talking to the camera 1 minute and then she's showing you the dinosaur the next minute. Or the same thing with a car. I'm talking and I'm walking towards the Tesla. Okay, and then I'm going to turn and I'm going to show you the Tesla, and I'm going to create all these clips, put them together, and I'm going to create and make them into a video clip. Okay, so the way that I have been playing with using it is quite intriguing. You know, on the top of your camera, you've got the presets, C1, C2, C3. Each one has their own complete set of settings. All right. So I've done this now. I've been thinking about this for a month, actually, back with the R6. So what I created was C1 is going to be 24p. So when I go to C1, camera is set to record in 24p, and everything that's necessary to run for 24p will be 24p. C2 will be 60p. Everything the camera needs to be set up for 60p will be set to C2, custom 2. If you're on a Nikon, it would be U1 and U2. And the number 3, if you have a number 3, and some cameras actually have 4 and 5, 6 also. So the number 3 would be 30 frames per second. All right. So I use the C3 at 30 frames per second, and I kind of like piggyback that. It's also the settings for my Christmas room. So when I come in the Christmas room, I set it to C3. So the colors, the ISO, all of that is set for C3. But C1, which has got a preset for 24 frames per second, I have that set to auto ISO and auto white balance, meaning I want the camera to automatically adjust things. And I enter the C1 in the P mode, meaning camera is fully automatic. I have it set and targeted for 24 frames per second. Now remember, I'm not picking 24 frames because I love 24 frames and it's so cinematic looking. No, I'm using it as a tool now. My 24 frames per second is being used for a reason. Okay, so it mates with 60 frames per second. So C2 changes to 60 frames per second. So on this particular camera, C1 is set to 24 frames per second. C2 is set to 60 frames per second. Both of them are set for complete automation. Now, I can use the Q button and change it to shutter priority or aperture priority, depending on where I am or what I'm doing. Okay? So why did I pick those two? There's a reason. It's not because, oh, I get to shoot both. Okay? Because 24 frames per second and 60 frames per second can be put on the same timeline. So you have to start by understanding that the talent, which would be you, because now you're vlogging. So when I talk to you, I'm shooting myself at 24 frames per second. All right? I could be walking in a minute. You'll see me doing this. Okay? I could be walking around. I could be doing anything I like. And as long as the camera's on me, I'm at 24 frames per second. The audio is all piped in the way I like it. Okay? Now, when I want to turn around and show you something, I stop. I don't just turn the camera and then continue and show you something. I push the stop button. I turn the camera around. I change it from C1 to C2. Now I'm in 60 frames per second. Okay? I push the start button again. And then I pan and I show you something. Now, at 60 frames per second, you still get to have audio. So if you want to go into slow motion or something and you go to 120 frames per second, most of the cameras don't allow you to do audio. So now while I'm shooting my 60 frames per second B-roll, I am talking. And after a while, you learn how to talk in a way where it's going to help you edit it later. Okay? And then when I say something to the effect and I want to come back to me, I'll pause it. Okay? This is not live. I'll turn the camera back around, flip it to C1, hit the record button, and I will go. And I will complete. Now I've got clips in 24 frames per second of me talking to the camera with the camera in my face. And I've got all these B-roll clips showing you this, showing you that, okay? And I put everything on a 24p timeline. And this is critical to the entire formula that I am creating here for you. It's critical to this formula. The person's got to be 24p. The B-roll has to be 60p. So if you say, well, Peter, why can't you do this in 30p and 60p? Because when you put the 60p onto a 24p timeline, you have two choices. You can slow it down to 80%, where it just looks a little dreamy, but it's not abnormal, okay? Or you could slow it down as much down to 40%. So you've actually slowed it down 60%, okay? But the setting is actually 40%. Then it looks better than 120 frames per second slow motion. And you got your soundtrack intact. So what you do is you detach your soundtrack, and after you detach your soundtrack, now you start carving up all the 60p and you slow them all down to 60 frames per second, and you slow them down to 40%. And now you've got absolutely gorgeous, stunning looking slow motion, and your voice is still at normal sound, okay? Now, I did that as a practice run because I set all this theory up in my mind. How does it work in real life, all right? I'm going to show you. Now, this is not ready for prime time. It's not bad. I mean, I don't want you to think it's junk, okay? But there's a lot of things that I would tend to that I didn't. So this is a quick couple of minutes showing you exactly what I just said. So when the camera is aimed at me in the clip that you're going to see, it's shooting 24p, which is why I could show it to you on this 24p timeline, okay? And when I'm showing you B-roll, I'm actually shooting the B-roll at 60p, and I've slowed it down in my computer, whether you use Final Cut Pro or you use Adobe Premiere. I'm using Final Cut Pro. You're going to slow it down to 40%. Okay, let's look at the video. I will try to keep my mouth shut. If I could find the video. Okay. This is pre-recorded. I actually did this, I think this one was done today. I'm doing a test right now, and the test is I want to show people that we have this argument about 24p versus 60p versus 30p, and it shouldn't be an argument because, you know, there's another way to work these P's. You can actually use them as tools. So right now I'm actually shooting at 24p, and my intentions are to shoot at 24p and walk around as if I'm vlogging. So actually I have a very interesting lens on this camera at the moment, and it's proving to be from a lens that I didn't really care about to a lens that all of a sudden became quite important, very important. So I'm holding the S5 II, the S52, and I'm shooting at 24p while I'm talking, okay? Now I'm going to actually shoot some B-roll and talk at the same time. So let's do it now. All right, I'm shooting B-roll now, and we are using the camera. I'm giving you a little tour of the living room, so I'm kind of walking as I'm doing this. So I'm actually just scanning. There's some pretty pictures, and then you're going to see a pretty piano, and it's going to come into the field of view eventually. Everything is set automatically, and the camera's just handling everything. So we're looking at the coffee table right now, and then we're going to come right around, and we're going to look at the dining room table. And here we keep the dining room table set as if we're expecting company at any moment. And this is what it looks like from one end to the other. Now, if I keep walking, I will come over to the credenza where you will see that statue and all kinds of stuff like that. Now, when you're doing this kind of photography, it's best, or videography, it's best that you don't really be commenting on the items, because what you're going to do is you're going to put the 60p on the 24p timeline. You're going to slow it down, and it becomes your B-roll. So you don't even need 120, okay? So people go like, oh, it doesn't have 120, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that. Well, you know, basically it doesn't need it, okay? That's because we're using 24p and 60p as a tool rather than, oh, I like 24p because it's so cinematic, or I like 24p because 30p or 60p because it looks, there's more frames and stuff. No, that's out the window. For this system, that's garbage. That's out the window. I didn't say across the board, okay? I am saying this is a different way to actually shoot. What you're doing is using 24p for the talent, which would be me, okay? And you're using 60p for your B-roll. So why are you using 60p for the B-roll? Because when you slow 60p down, you could slow 60p down on a 24p timeline 2 different ways, 80% and 40%. All right, so 40% is actually going to give you slow motion like 120, but better, smoother, crisper. And you're also able, because I'm shooting 60p right now, I'm able to actually talk. So I'm talking and I get some real sound that goes with it. I'm going to detach this. Oh, I'll show you a little bit later. All right, so that's it for the moment for this test. Bye.
And there you got it. That was the video. It was obviously not ready for prime time. Why? Because my hair wasn't combed. When I said the word piano, it wasn't lined up with the word piano. When I said the dining room table, it wasn't lined up with the word dining room table. So that was just a test. And I was also, at that point, I had started making the tests pertaining to the stabilization, because I noticed the stabilization, if you use the lens stabilization with a Canon lens on a S5 Mark II, you need to go pick one way or the other. So what I think I'm going to wind up determining, I'll probably make some more tests tomorrow or something to see what happens, is I might actually just wind up not using any stabilization whatsoever and using Final Cut Pro and do the stabilization there. But tests still have to come before I can determine what I'm actually going to do, all right? So that's why I wanted to switch over to the 24 frames per second so I could show you that video. So I need to refine that video till I get it very well. And then I want to make that on the big channel where I could teach using 24 frames per second and 60 frames per second as a set, and for them to become a set of tools for you instead of a set of desire. My heart's desire is to shoot 60 frames per second because it's so clear, it looks so perfect. That's one road to use those frames per second. But there is another road. You use 24 frames per second, and the reason you pick 24 frames per second is because of 60 frames per second, when it's slowed down 40%, okay, it actually becomes drop dead gorgeous. It's like professional slow motion. And the unique part is, while you're filming it, you get to talk. So when you look at your video on your timeline, you've got a line for audio and you've got a line for video, and they're mated together. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to detach it, so you could start trimming up the video, and the audio stays intact. So what I've learned is you've got to be careful. Like if I say the dining room table, all right, I need to have enough space because I ramble pretty quick. So I have to learn to allow some spacing for me to do some cutting and trimming. So my B-roll was actually this big, but my audio was actually only that big. So I needed to trim a lot of it out, or I could have left it and I could have cut up the audio. But the problem is you get background noise and it'll look like sound with a little hiss, pleasant hiss, and then dead silence. So if you know you're going to do that, I know this is a lot deeper than most people would want to go, okay? But I'm just practicing on you guys right now, trying to figure out where you would get caught. So I would have needed to record maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes of video in that living room without talking, so that I can put that as an underlaying foundation. So when I wanted to talk here, okay, let's do it this way. So when I wanted to talk here and talk here and talk here, it doesn't go from the talk to the dead silence to the talk to the dead silence, because that will sound very abnormal. So if I have a foundational soundtrack of just the ambient noise of the living room, I would be able to put that anywhere I want in my video clip. So if that was a long video clip, and let's say I was out in a park, I would just record 3, 4, 5 minutes of the park just for the sound, never mind the video. So that will free me up to take all the B-roll I want, and then I can clip out, remove the sound, and then I can put the sound where I'm actually talking about that item. So if I went to Dinosaur World, okay, like Sly did in her latest videos, okay, if I went to Dinosaur World and if I'm going to talk about a Rexosaurus and I've got it on another dinosaur over here, well, it doesn't match. So what I need to do is cut up the clip, move it over to where I'm talking about the Rexosaurus, okay, and I need to not have that eerie dead silence between. So I would have recorded some just background ambient track, and voila. So I need to put all that together into a video and put it on the big channel. It probably will be one of my better videos, which means it won't have a lot of viewers, which is a shame, because this is how people start to learn their skills, by listening and learning about this stuff that I'm talking about right now. Okay, so we got some people. Jim came in with me. Thank you, Jim. I didn't know how many people would come over after I just ended the live stream that I did. Carlos says, we're back, baby. Scott had to go potty. Peter had to go potty too. Jim says, this is fascinating stuff. I learned so much from these Peter tutorials. All the variables in videos still overwhelms me. It's overwhelming. This is overwhelming me a little bit, okay? And I'll tell you why it's overwhelming me a little bit. Because when you slow something down to 40% from 100%, you got about this much audio and this much B-roll. What happens to all that dead space? So I had to start learning. I need to start cutting it down, and I still run short of spacing it properly. Like, I couldn't find enough time on the one that I just showed you where I can put me saying, and the dining room table is always set up. You notice I was not at the dining room table until 4 seconds later. I couldn't help that. I had no ambient noise. So I cut it up properly and I put it in the proper place, but then it went from talking to complete silence. And it was so unnatural. So the next time I do that, I need to record a couple of minutes of ambient background noise. So when I actually do stop speaking, it'll sound the same as if I'm in that room or in that park or in the car. This is some of the things you're learning. So that's why I'm saying it seems a little overwhelming. This is something that you would have to do 4 or 5 times in your house before you actually do it for prime time. And this is what I just showed you. I showed you one of my not ready for prime time videos over here before I teach this on the big channel, because it is a good thing, because you take those C1, C2, C3 presets and suddenly they have meaning. So if I'm going to go on a trip, whenever I'm talking to the camera, I will be in C1, 24 frames per second. I'll have my voice being pumped in. Okay. Now, if I want to add some B-roll to it, I'll change it to C2 and it'll start recording in 60 frames per second. I can still talk, because in case you didn't know, when you go to slow motion, most cameras will lose the sound, or they'll stretch it and it sounds completely abnormal. Okay. So it's a simple step, detach. It's a command. You right click on your clip and you click detach audio. All of a sudden your audio, you can move it anywhere you want. Okay, so what do they use that for mostly? They don't use it for what I just showed you. If your lips and your sound is off by 2 frames and it's driving you nuts, you can adjust that minutely. That's what the detached audio is there for. But good old Peter came up with a whole new use for it. I'm going to detach the audio. I'm going to cut it up so I can space it out. Then I'm going to take my B-roll where I'm showing you the pictures on the credenza TV set. I'm showing you the black grand piano. I'm showing you the gold coffee table. Then I'm showing you the dining room table. Then I'm showing you the credenza against the wall. I just did a circle around the room. That's how I'm able to remember what I did. In my mind, I did a circle around the room. Okay? But the voice was way too compact compared to the video clip when I slowed it down. That's a big problem. How did I solve that? I just told you. You got to have to take some ambient noise, so you could just use that underneath the whole thing. You can use that over and over and over because nobody's going to talk. It's just noise. Okay? And then you can clip when I say, and our dining room is always set up, the voice will match with the picture. Voila! A big win. So to show you that, I had to come back as a live stream in 24 frames per second because that video had to be 24 frames per second. Because to pair up the 24 frames per second with the 60, I need a 24, and that would be me. Okay? So did I confuse you thoroughly? If I did, I'm sorry. But this is where when people see this and I get feedback and questions, what about this, what about that, I'll know ahead of time what some of these questions will be. So this is fascinating stuff. That's what Jim said. So it's a little bit overwhelming, but you know, when you have it in your brain, you can default to it at a later time. And that's the purpose. I'm hoping this video that I do will be useful for a couple of years. So you can come to it a year from now and still use it. So tomorrow, thank you, Peter, for a wonderful idea. Thank you, Jim. When I do the fireworks, okay, I'm going to use 60 frames per second and 24 frames per second if we're here or if we're anywhere where I can see fireworks. So I can actually slow the fireworks down. Now, I told you the 60 frames per second, you've got 2 places that you could put it in 24 frames per second. You can reduce it and for it to work right. You can reduce it to 80% and you can reduce it to 40%. So the fireworks, maybe you don't want it crazy slow motion like you just saw, but maybe you'd like to have a little bit of class, okay? So you would only slow that down to 80%. So it's a wonderful 2-punch tool, and I want to get it straight in my head so that I could teach it, and people will have something that is very useful. David is here, and he's saying, great to see you. Just got off work. Well, you didn't do me. I'm still sitting in the chair waiting for you. Christmas on the 4th, J4. That's a good way to put it. So this is the worst channel ever for the Jehovah's Witnesses. Are you a Jehovah's Witness? I don't mean to be insulting to you, okay? So if you're a Jehovah's Witness, David, I don't mean to pick on you in any way. But I'm also not going to hide from the fact that I am a Christian. I'm a Christian boy. That's what I am. So, he says, but the best channel for me ever, 365 days of Christmas. David says, I don't believe in dinosaurs, but the Bible says they exist, so I'm probably wrong. Well, they do exist. They don't exist today. They're extinct. But they didn't exist millions of years ago. There's 2 scientifically valid methods for dating. One is the carbon dating method, and then there is another method, which I don't remember. And the other method backs up the Bible in its data. And there is just as many scientists on both sides. So the carbon dating side would have you believe that's the only way, no other way, and that other group are just crazy idiots. But you got them. Just like in politics. You've got the conservatives and the liberals. So each group thinks the other ones are idiots, okay? So that's the same thing with science. So I believe that the world is 6,000 years old. So when I hear like a doctor get on and go like, millions of years ago, we used to eat like this. No, you didn't, okay? Now, this is not being brought up so I could create an argument. It's being brought up so that I could tell you that there is the evolutionist scientists, and they have their theories, and they have their methods, and they are willing to actually give lectures on that. And then you have what is called a creation scientist. That's what I couldn't think about a minute ago. A creation scientist believes that this world was created by a supreme being, okay? Now that model dictates that you have an outline of the ages, and that outline brings us to 6,000 years. So was there something before 6,000 years? Maybe there was. I don't know. But the Bible clearly shows, if you go by the Bible. If you don't, this is out the window. But if you go by the Bible clearly shows that you have a beginning point when the supreme being that I call God, because the Bible calls him God, okay, created. And he took 6 literal days to create. All right. And on the 7th day, it was complete, finished, and he rested. All right. And that's why we're supposed to rest every 6 days. That's why we keep the Sabbath day as a rest day, because not because it's a religious thing. We need to rest. If God rested, we need to rest. Are we better than God? No. Okay. So anyway, back to what I'm talking about. David. So let's get 5 likes. Well, we got 6 now. Thank you, David. I appreciate that. Peter Lewis says, happy July 4th. This is my second live stream. Hi, Lewis. I love you too, buddy. Okay. Peter, 24 is better than 30. No, it's a tool. And you need to watch this over if you didn't watch it. And you'll see how to use 24, and you'll see how to use 30. And why you need to pair those two specifically together. You can't pick 2 other ones. Okay? So at this point, one is not better than the other. It's a tool to be used. So you, Lewis, let me think about this for a second. So you've done a dancing video, okay? You've done a walking around in the subway video. So you would use this method that I just taught tonight, not wonderfully, because I'm still putting it together in my mind. And I showed a sample of what I've been practicing in this stream. Not the first stream, but this stream, okay? So you can go back and watch this stream from the beginning, and you'll see how I use 24 frames per second and 60 frames per second as a tool in the same timeline. All right? It's actually, I find it very interesting. So Lewis says, I love you, Peter and friends. Peter, you look good in yellow. Oh, Kyle picked out my shirt tonight. And he's saying, we're back, baby. And have you tried Primal Kitchen? Yes, I use Primal Kitchen ketchup. I use Primal Kitchen. I do have a couple of Primal Kitchen barbecue sauces, but they're too spicy for me. So if you actually find a Primal Kitchen barbecue sauce, that number one tastes good. I don't want crappy taste. All right. And there's like no spiciness. I want a sweet tasting sauce. So they do have a sugar-free, I thought I saw something out of the corner of my eye. They do have a sugar-free Sweet Baby Ray's, but it's too spicy for me. I can't handle it, okay? I had surgery on my throat when I was a teenager, so my throat is overly sensitive. So it's not like a choice. It's medically mandated that I don't eat spices. So David is saying hi to Lewis. Lewis saying hi to David. David says, I'm not a JW, but I used to date one, so I know the rules. No birthdays, no Christmases, all kinds of crazy stuff, right? So anyway, Roy is here. Roy, did you see the correct show for tonight? Did you miss the whole thing? Well, you're in daytime, so I came live because I wanted to, and then I wanted to show everybody, but I needed to end the first live stream. So this is live stream number 2 for tonight. So I needed to switch to 24 timeline. Okay, so that's what happened. So thank you so much, Peter. David says, "Oh, it's an accident. Silly me. What was the accident? I didn't catch it." Yellow and red. I'm loving it. McDonald's. I never put that together, David. McDonald's. No wonder when I wear this shirt, I feel hungry. Dang, dude, you solved a big problem. Wow. What sauce do you recommend? Okay. In my first live show tonight, I teach a sauce that is my absolute favorite sauce, whether it's low sugar or not. Oh my God, there is no better sauce. And Scotty even named it Peter's Snowy White Steak Sauce. Peter's Snowy White Steak Sauce. My gosh, Louis, it's very easy to make. Okay, very easy to make. And it's so delicious. And you could fix it up the way you want. You could saute mushrooms and put it in to the Peter's Snowy White Steak Sauce. You could saute onions and put it into Peter Gregg's Snowy White Steak Sauce. Or you could use mushrooms and onions into Peter's Snowy White Steak Sauce. And I put the steak sauce on anything. Eggs, tomatoes, chicken, steak, salad. If you eat baked potatoes, you could put this sauce on the baked potatoes. And it is so good. You got to watch the first video. Okay? It's very easy to make. So, pink sauce is not for everyone. Roy says, well, what is the pink sauce? That's ranch dressing. Ranch dressing is simply mayonnaise, and you put ketchup into it until you get ranch dressing. It's delicious. And I use the Primal Kitchen ketchup because it's as good as regular ketchup. Doesn't even feel like it's a low-sugar ketchup. I mix it in with mayonnaise. Now I know I'm not supposed to have the mayonnaise, not because of sugar, but because it's just bad for you. The soybean oil for the male. Louis, last time I checked, you were a male, okay? So anything with soybean oil, soybean powder, males should not have soybeans. Now, for anyone, male or female, soybean also wallpapers your arteries with plaque. So it's not healthy. So you have to find I think it's Primal Kitchen, makes an avocado mayonnaise. But I don't make that much. So I just use the regular Duke's mayonnaise, and I put the ketchup in, and I make a sauce. Louis says, well, then Louis, if you're loving Primal Kitchen, you know what? Then you're on your way to lowering your sugar intake, because that's what the chubbiness is on you. It's your sugar intake, not because you're eating it, because your body doesn't know what to do with it. So it actually activates your liver, and your liver puts out insulin to counteract that donut, to counteract that eclair, to counteract that milkshake. And it does it so often that the liver gets tired, and then it doesn't, after a while, you do that, you're 30-something years old? Okay, wait till you're 50 years old and you've been eating heavy sugars, all right? Your body gets tired of dealing with it. You've got to give it a break. And you can go keto, very low sugar, for a week, okay, or only 4 days, and then go back to your normal eating. It gives your liver, your gallbladder, your intestines, your pancreas a chance, a rest. Thank God. So, Roy says, I'm getting hungry, so talk about McDonald's again so I can stop. McDonald's. Ooh, what was it? Quack, quack, waddle, waddle, McDonald's. That was one of the best commercials. They used to make good McDonald's. A little pricey, but it keeps your sugar in line, okay? So this is the little movements that you make, Louis,
to getting yourself healthy. If you go tomorrow cold turkey, you're a fail. Okay? So you can't. So what you do is you inch by inch, it's a cinch. Inch by inch, it's a cinch. Okay? So you're doing good. So David says, can you make me a mod, Peter? No. My mods have been chosen, and I'm not adding any for the moment. Okay? So, and it's not anything to do with personal. I'll hug you and kiss you and all that kind of good stuff. Okay? But I'm not adding mods. I'm actually taking away mods right now. So David's talking to Roy and asking him what food he hates. What do you hate? Lewis says, I have the avocado primal ketchup. There you go. Add some ketchup to that slowly, and you will have made yourself, it's not ranch. I think it's Thousand Island or French. One of the two. It's not ranch, okay? And on hamburgers, it's wonderful. It's healthy for your heart. So you got two things going on, Lewis. You got heart stuff that you're building up over the years, and you've got sugar. So like if you get your bottle of mayonnaise, there's almost no sugar in it. I use Duke's, there's Hellmann's, there's other brands, okay? But it's full of stuff that hurts your arteries. So David is a young man too. So he's eating stuff for years and years and years. So when he gets to be an older man, he's going to be sick, and he's not going to know why he's sick. And that is one of the reasons to start eating healthier. That doesn't mean become a monk and go live in the mountain and don't eat anything but dirt. I'm not saying that. I had to do that because the doctor said I'm 2 steps away from being a full-blown diabetic. So I cut out and went to counting my carbs, no more than 20 carbs for the whole day. Okay? Then I started to realize I'm eating things that are actually not healthy besides counting my carbs. So your body can fire on sugar, which is carbohydrates, or fat. So now I eat bacon, I eat eggs, I eat steak, I eat chicken with the skin. Okay? This is feeding me the sugars that I used to have, where I would eat donuts, I would eat a milkshake, I would eat the buns, I'd eat the Big Mac, which had 3 buns in it, and all of that, and the baked potatoes with the sour cream. Okay, baked potatoes got 45 carbs all by itself. Then I live in Miami, which you got the Cuban rice, which is delicious, the paella. I was like 300-400 carbs a day, and I'm allowed 20. Okay, so you're taking the right step, David. If you're eating healthy, I'm proud of you, big boy. Okay, I'm very proud of you. So, Roy says McDonald's is probably on the top of the list. Oh yeah. So there is some websites for everybody. Okay. What can I eat? The keyword is keto. That triggers the fact that someone is limiting sugar intake. That doesn't mean they're eating healthier non-sugar stuff. It just means they've limited their sugar intake. So what can I eat keto at McDonald's? What can I eat keto at Wendy's? What can I eat keto at Chick-fil-A? And there's websites out there that will tell you what you can do if you go there. So if you go with your buddies, you're not going to sit there with your thumb up your ass, okay, while everybody's eating. You're just like, oh, I wish I could have some of that. Oh, I wish I could have some of that. No, you need to know what can you eat when you go to Wendy's. So you Google it. What's keto at Wendy's? And it'll give you a bunch of choices. Same thing for McDonald's, Mickey D's, or Burger King, or anything. So you could still fit in with your friends. So for instance, if you and your buddies go out for pizza, you want pizza, but you want it with a spoon. Because don't eat the bread. You can eat the sauce. You can eat most of the toppings, except pineapples, okay? But you can eat the ham. You can eat the sausage. You can eat the pepperoni. You can eat the cheese. You can eat the 5 different kinds of cheese. You can eat the ground sausage, the ground beef. Don't eat the bread. So
you just say to something simple, I'm fasting from bread this week. Okay, and then they can laugh at you. Oh, he's a Christian. He's fasting from bread. Okay, they won't know what you mean. Or you just say, I'm trying to drop a few pounds. All right, so I'm staying away from bread for the month or something. As long as you're eating what your buddies are eating, the same thing, you're okay. But when you differentiate yourself, have you ever been out on a date with a girl or a guy, and they'll spend most of their time telling you what they can't eat? That's no fun. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Okay? I can't have mushrooms, and I can't have. And they sound clogged up while they're talking to you. And I can't have. Sweet tea, and I can't have. Don't put extra salt. Don't put MSG in my whatever. What do you put MSG in? I can't eat shrimp. I can't. I don't give a darn. Eat what you want. That's why we have a menu. It's a menu. Pick what you like. I don't want your life story about what you can't eat. That's not a fun date. So, same thing happens when you're out with the boys. Seriously. You don't want to look like a bump on the log, so you just join in. Okay? So David says, that's some good advice, Peter. Slow. One step at a time. Wisdom, baby, wisdom. Is there a mod in here? I need something from you. Well, I'm sitting right here, David. I am sitting here. Most of the mods don't get activated because on Ecamm, I now have a ban button. So I can ban anybody at will, okay? So, love you, Peter. Thank goodness for you. I love you too, Louis. You've always been a good friend to me over the last couple of years, and I just love it when you come in. Does that mean you're leaving? Are you out on a walk right now? Is that what you're doing? I don't understand why you're always quick to leave. I haven't done anything to hurt your feelings, have I, Louis? Because if I have, please let me know. Sweet, pretty please. Okay. The mods get the iPhone blue color. Oh, David, you're hilarious. I'm pretty healthy. I had a urinary, is that urinary? So I have to be, it's easy, especially when you know the truth. UC is, I'll talk to you in a second. Kind of like believing in God is easy when you know the truth. That's right. So there are some things that you could do that you will never hear about in the UC community. UC is where there's a bladder infection, right? And then it never really goes away, and it'll spark up like that. Or am I completely out of the bounds here? Might be something completely different. It's hard to be healthier when you're eating for convenience. Well, when you start to learn what you can eat. So if I was going to go to McDonald's, I would start with a salad that had chicken on it. I'd take the croutons off, and I would ask for the oil and something dressing. Okay? So I would start with that. Then, if I wanted, I would add extra grilled chicken. Maybe it doesn't have enough to satisfy me. So I'd cut up the grilled chicken into bigger chunks and add it to my salad. If I wanted to make it interesting, I'd order a quarter pounder without cheese. And I'd take the patty out, cut that up, and add it to my salad. I make a salad that you would actually be jealous to eat. Honest to God. All right? People are going to go like, dang, that's a good salad. All right? And now they're envying you instead of you watching what they're eating. You got to turn it around. But it still has to be quick. Okay? Love you. I love you too, Louis. Andre, good morning, dearest Peter from sunny Malta. Hi, Andrea. I'm going to call you Andrea because that's kind of like Greekifying your name. We have Andrea. So, Andre. So, he's in Malta. How you doing out there? So, I did a video right before this one. Not a video. I did a live stream right before this one. But I wanted to show you guys a little project that I was working on. And I needed to finish that video, which it was an hour. It was an hour long, so it was a healthy video. I call it my January 4th. You don't celebrate that, but it's my January 4th Eve video. So this is, I needed to come over as 24 frames per second so that I could show you. So if you go back and you watch this over, you'll see something I've been working on. I don't have it down exactly as good as I want, okay? I was practicing, so I showed one of the practice videos that I did. And that is the reason that I'm doing two tonight. So one of them is in my regular 30p, 30 frames per second, and the other one is in 24 frames per second, which is the one that we're watching right now. All right, guys, so I did my video. We're almost up at an hour, so I actually did 2 hours. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Is there anything else I want to add? Yes, I love each and every one of you. You're on my prayer list. Doesn't matter what religion you are. I pray. I can do my prayers. You do yours. I didn't come over there and tell you how to pray. So nobody has been telling me how to pray either. David, thank you for coming in tonight. I think it's awesome every time I see you. I love you. I have seen you cutting some hair, so I know you're a very talented young man, very desirable. These people flock and they, no, I want David. I don't want anybody else. I want David. David or nothing, okay? So David says his Canon broke and the iPhone is saving the day. How did your Canon break? Is it because of being irresponsible? You know, you're not too big to put over my lap and give you a good bare butt spanking. You spend money for these pieces of equipment. Treat them with respect. Now, if it wasn't your fault, no spanking. You don't get to enjoy a spanking. It's not vodka. It's water. I promise. So tell us about your broken Canon, David. I want to hear all about your broken Canon. So what time is it over there? It's 12. That means it's 9 o'clock. And if you're finished for the day, I might just pick up the phone and call you when this is over. I might do that. I just might do that. What do you think about that, David? And I'm going to ask you some very hard questions. But I'm not judgmental, just so you know. So thank you for being here, but I can't thank you people for 3 minutes, so I have to talk about something. It's either about cameras or dieting. Oh, my new favorite, I've been shopping for a lens for this Panasonic S5 Mark II. And guess what? The lens I like the best is a lens I already have. Holy moly! You know, when I was in my prayer time about 8 months ago, God said to me in my heart, I'm not hearing voices, you have everything you need. And you know that more times than not, something that I think I need to buy, I already have it. So I'm looking, what lens do I need? Because I want to take this new camera and I want to go out. I want to go visit David. I want to go visit Louis. I want to go visit Andre. I want to go out when I go to McDonald's and video and show what I'm eating and stuff. But all I have is Canon lenses on an adapter for this camera. So guess what? I have a Canon 10 to 18 lens, zoom lens. And it fits on here automatically. So that's great. All right. Andre says, Chuck update. His wife sent a message that he's slowly recovering, but he's still in need of our prayers. Did you find out what it was? Is it COVID? Is it something very personal? I mean, obviously you can't tell everything. Okay. But we will be, and we do pray for Andre. We cover him with the body and the blood of Jesus. I'm a Christian guy, so that's my prayer, okay? I pray over Chuck for complete healing, complete restoration. Jesus paid for that with his work at the cross, and I speak that on Chuck right now. So you could tell Chuck's wife that Chuck has been prayed for, okay? And I added him to my prayer journal. Wait, I could find your email. No, I have it somewhere. David, you know something? I think you need a daddy, okay? I think, and not that kind, okay? I mean a dad. I have told everybody 1,000 times, my email is in the description. You don't have to memorize it. You don't have to do anything. You just have to look down in the description to find my email. And then, lo and behold, you will see my email. Okay, big boy? Love you. All right. So Andre said she didn't give further details, and I didn't feel comfortable in asking. Yeah, I know. I've been there, done that, bought the T-shirt. But we keep him in our prayers. I just prayed for him. Those of you that agreed with my prayer, just say amen, which is so be it. And you're in agreement with me that Jesus just heals him. Now, if you're Buddhist or Mohammedist or anything elseist, you pray your way. We just want the man to get better. So I pray to my God and who I believe in, who I believe is in my heart. Okay? I'm not going to pray to somebody that's not in my heart. What is that? All right? So anyway, so David dropped his camera one time in 5 years. Oh, so you're a good boy. I'm proud of you, David. So Roy says Chuck is a warrior. He means warrior. He was special forces and always seems to be resilient. That's good news, Roy. That's good news. All right, guys. Thank you for watching my special video that I showed you. And if you want my Peter Gregg snowy white steak, anything sauce, look at part 1 or the first part of this video, which is in 30p, 30 frames per second. And the second part is in 24 frames per second. All right. Love you. 2 videos in one night. Oh my God. How am I going to ever top that? Golly gee whiz, Batman. All right. Love you. Good night, everybody. Bye, 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 bye.